Talk. Today we're going to be talking about death and mortality, which sounds really depressing, but it's more an aspect of how you deal with it, how people look at it, and sort of mindsets and stuff like that. It's not about we're all going to die and that's it. It's a look at when the realization hits you that you're not here forever. Because when we're younger, we always sort of feel that we are going to live forever and we are untouchable and stuff. And it gets to a point in your life where you turn around and sort of go, "Oh God, I'm not going to be here forever. Have I wasted my time?" And stuff like that. But yeah, that's what we're going to delve into. Obviously, I'm here with my brother James, and yeah, what's your thoughts to begin with, James?
I think for me, this is a really scary subject, and it's one of the subjects that's really played on my anxiety over the years. It's one of the main causes and the main reasons for it. This is something that I've never really spoken about in that sense. That knowing that one day I won't wake up again just scares literally the life out of me. Like there's nothing I'm more terrified of
Hmm.
than dying one day, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Because as I said to you before we started recording, if you live to 80, you've had a good life, and 80 years old, living for 80 years, if you think about it in the grand scheme of everything, is nothing.
yeah,
And it's really scary to think that one day everything's going to be dark and that's it forever, sort of thing, and you're just not gonna. And that literally the thought of one day not waking up actually terrifies me. Literally terrifies me. There's nothing like I said that I'm more scared of, sort of thing. And I think it has been from quite a young age. As I know that you did looked it up before we started recording about the average age of children realizing about mortality. I think you said it's about between 5 and 7, didn't you?
yeah. It's between 5 and 7 that they, it's supposedly from scientific studies, between 5 and 7 that they realize what mortality is and that death is irreversible. So yeah, it's a crazy thought really because my daughter, she's 5 now, so she potentially, due to these studies, will be going through that. But I'm guessing that's all down to exposure as well. So how much exposure to the real world they've had, if that makes sense. And obviously,
Yeah.
if they've had family members die or parents die or anything like that, then obviously those kids are going to have a lot earlier realization of it. But yeah, it, like you say, it if you people look at death in many different ways. So as we've spoke about before, about with religion and stuff, neither of us are religious. We don't really have many opinions in people that are religious and stuff like that. We're not sort of saying everyone should be atheists, but it makes you wonder at times, doesn't it? Like, should we, obviously people that are religious always, not always, but a lot of the time believe that stuff happens after you die. So
Mm.
is that why religion is still so?
Is that the reason religion was sort
Yeah,
of invented in the first place, was to help
I
people?
think religion was massively important when, this is going slightly off topic, but I think religion was massively important earlier in life, to do with setting morals for humanity as we evolved and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's how I look at religion personally. I'm not saying that's the right way, but how I look at religion is that it was very important when evolution was, you know, a lot further back. I think now that everyone can sort of determine what's right and wrong, but I think that a lot of what's right and wrong has been built off of religion from
Yeah, I think
what you
religion
hear.
were the early laws, wasn't it? Like
Yeah, yeah,
God says don't do this, God says don't do that. So basically, just God says don't kill people, God says don't
yeah,
cheat on your partner and stuff like that. So all the things that are morally and legally the way it's supposed to be now, anyway, sort of thing. So
yeah. And like I say, I just think that there, a lot of people find comfort from death through religion.
you can see why a lot
Um,
of people that have got terminal illnesses and stuff turn to religion.
yeah, yeah, for that, not comfort, but something to sort of believe in and stuff. But you also, this is like I was explaining to you before. I think this is how mindsets work and how a lot of people's mindsets work. There'll be people that are probably more positive and stuff like that and don't think like that, but it's a lot to do with, oh, I'm say for instance me, I'm 31 this year, and it's I kind of like you we both said, like you sit there and you kind of, what have I achieved in life? Have I achieved enough? Oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I haven't done that. And it's not till you sit back and you look at what you have that you can sit there and be, well, actually, I'm quite proud of what I've got and where we are, and raising kids and stuff like that. It's something that doesn't instantaneously sort of cross your mind. You always look at the negatives, and I think that's a lot of people's mindsets, and mine included. A lot of the time, I'm always look at the negatives before the positives. I think sometimes people do need to just take a step back and look at what they do have and
Mm.
how bad it could be. Yeah, we're not millionaires, but in the same aspect, I think that there are people a lot worse off than us.
Was
Um,
was born in it was born in a good era as well.
yeah,
No, no,
and for
no
and for
plague, no wars.
yeah,
Like, well, obviously there's wars and stuff, but like, if we were
we didn't have
born
to get
like in,
landed. Yeah,
if we was born in like the early 1900s, then would have had to have fought in at least one war.
exactly. And that's the thing with this COVID, when you kind of put it in perspective of, yeah, we're all at home, we're all fed up, we all want to get out, we all want to get back to normal life, but in the same aspect, you kind of put into comparison what, for instance, our grandparents or our great grandparents especially went through. We've got to sit in and watch telly,
Yeah,
so it's not, it's not like we we've had it like the worst time in humanity right now. So once again, that's looking at negatives and not looking at how grateful you should be with the era that we're living in at the minute.
yeah. And I think going back to the whole subject of mortality and death sort of thing, I think one of the things that gets my anxiety, as I said before, is that sometimes thinking about, I don't know why, but sometimes it's always when I go to bed sort of thing. It's always when it hits me the most. I think it's because it's dark sort of thing, and it's always not that I'm scared of the dark, but it's always just the association with nothing. It gets my anxiety going and stuff like that. And sometimes I'll sort of like go to sleep sort of just like terrified, which is not a way to live at all. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm 100% fully aware of that, but it's just with my anxiety issues and stuff like, it's trying to train my brain to acknowledge the fact that there's nothing we can do about it. It's going to happen. You might as well, you can't live your life just worrying about what's inevitable.
If it could happen at any time as well, that's the thing, is that
Yeah,
you can sit and sort of shield yourself and not do things at the fear of doing something, and then you know you could do, anything could happen. But I think it's something that everyone goes through as well.
yeah,
I think that, I mean, and no one really wants to die, in terms of, if you get what I mean, in general concept. If you said, are you scared of dying to people, probably 99.9% of people would say yes, because
probably the biggest fear.
yeah, your biggest fear, I suppose, yeah, if I reckon, if you ask people what your biggest fear is, I don't think they'd say death.
No,
That's the difference, because I think a lot of people would
can
don't
you have a fear? Can you
don't
have a
think that.
fear of something that's? Can you have a fear of something that's inevitable? Like, it's. I suppose when you look at a fear, is it irrational? I suppose having being scared of death isn't irrational because it's the most permanent thing you can possibly think of.
Mm.
So it's in that sense, it's not an irrational fear. It's a very, very rational fear. So I
Well,
suppose,
yeah, because then obviously you lose all your family, friends, everything. But in the same
yeah,
aspect, I think that, you know, every day should. It's easy to say, because it's easy to sit here and say you should make every day count and all that, but with everything in life that you go through, all the knocks and bumps that you do go through, you can't just. I find it difficult to imagine people are happy 100% of the time. So
yeah, I don't wake up every day smiling, sort of thing. It's not because I'm not happy with my life, sort of thing, but you just have days where it's just you just
Yeah.
don't feel good in yourself, like you're a little bit down or something like that.
I think
Obviously,
that's like at the minute it's going to be like that as well. I know, obviously, I just said about like how grateful we should be in the era we live in, but still, we've grown up in an with the freedom, and that's been taken away. So I still think that plays a massive effect on people's mental health. Um, but
yeah,
I
because don't get me wrong, I don't have these feelings normally. Like obviously, I had said before, it started off when I was younger, and it was my build up of anxiety sort of thing. But as I got older, I learned to deal with them and stuff like that, and then I had obviously work, and we could go out and do things as well. Being on furlough, I spend time with my son and my wife sort of thing, and but there's not really a lot we can do because obviously everything's closed. We went to the park today for the first time in like 2 months because they were closed. So
yeah
there's not a lot you could really do apart from sit with your own thoughts. And I suppose that's my own problem is that I was stewing in my own anxiety and things were just building up, getting worse and worse and worse. And I was putting it all on myself. And as I said, I'm not an idiot. I'm fully aware that this is going to happen one day and that it's inevitable sort of thing. But from
yeah.
myself point of view, it's still one of the scariest things to think about. But
Still, I think that it's quite important that not that you don't think about it, but in the same aspect, you think of it as like you said, it's going to happen, and do you want to be uh,
get a
do,
living.
do you want to be getting to where you are at the point, say when you're 80 and that, and you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't do a load of things, or I wasted a lot of time worrying about this moment when it was
Yeah,
always going to be there anyway. It's one thing that I always sort of say to people when they worry about things that are out of their control is that it doesn't matter. What's the point worrying about stuff when it's going to happen? Does that
yeah,
make sense? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you say, about job interviews and stuff like that, and they're like, I'm really nervous about whether I'm going to get it. Them feelings are natural, and I understand that. But in the same aspect, sitting and spending for a week or however long it takes for them to come back, worrying about whether you've done good, bad, whatever, isn't going to change the outcome of what's going to happen. So, like I say, everyone has natural instincts and feelings where you're like, all right, I felt that went bad, or I really hope I get it and stuff. But in the same aspect, it's you worrying about it isn't going to change the outcome of it.
No,
So,
yeah, and
it's
I think going back to what you said originally is you said that we don't want to make this completely depressing. Obviously, I've
no,
completely
no, no.
ruined that already.
No,
Um,
I don't think we have. The thing is that this isn't about pulling people down and stuff. It's potentially giving people not a platform, but somewhere to sort of speak about. Because
discuss.
I should think there's a lot of people that sit there and they do worry about it, and they do sit there and they're like, oh, I'm weird because I have a lot of thoughts about worrying about, am I wasting my time where I am in my life? Should I have done more? Have I not done enough? Am I failing? Am I not doing this? And I think it's comfort for people to know that it's natural that people go through that process, because I think a lot of people think that people don't, because once again, going back to social media, people that play the happy family on social media because they put 16 pictures up a day about everything that they do, and they must sit there and go, oh well, my family isn't right because we haven't got all these pictures up. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah,
And I think that's the same with people that are constantly putting out positive messages and stuff, which is good, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that, and I'm not deterring people from doing that, but sometimes being vulnerable and showing people what actually happens at times is good for people, because it gives them comfort that they're not alone, but you know
yeah.
they're not wrong for thinking the way that they think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, obviously, as I said to you before we started recording, that I've obviously never spoken to anybody about this before because I've not wanted to bum anyone out, get them depressed, or get them thinking along the same mindset. It's sort of been a burden that I've bore on my own because I didn't want to bring anyone down or play on anyone's own mental health sort of thing, having struggled with my own over time. So doing it in this sort of environment means that people can listen to the video or the podcast if they want to, and then they can get involved if they want to. And if it's a subject they don't want to listen to, then they don't have to, sort of thing. And I don't know, I'm not going to bum anyone out in that sense that doesn't want to be. I think it's important to talk because I already feel better speaking about it. Just to you, I know that you're the only person that's got to listen to me talk about it. Everyone else has got a choice, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but
but
in that sense,
the
like,
thing
it
is
feels good
though,
to talk because
yeah.
then,
But the perfect example of that is you look at when you spoke to me about it. The first thing I was like, I sort of laughed, not at, wasn't laughing at James. I was laughing at the fact that I was like, yeah, dude, I've been there, or I go through that. I think everyone goes through that, and I think that's a massive thing to put under the spotlight is that people. I reckon that a few people will probably listen to this and be like, "Oh, okay, that's it's not so weird for me to think like that, if that makes sense."
yeah,
Um, and I think having that comfort of knowing that other people do, and like I say, it's not sitting there going, "Oh, everyone's going to die. What's the point?" It's just a natural. What we're trying to um, talk about is the natural mindset you get in thinking about it, which is I feel naturally comes to people, and it could be people younger, it could be people older. And don't get me wrong, we're not old by any stretch of the imagination, and there are probably people listening to this that are, you know, in their, you know, 60s, 70s, and and they're like, oh, you think you're old, you've got your whole life ahead of you. But that was the
it
thing.
goes by so quickly.
Sorry.
So it's just one of those things that it just goes by so quickly as well, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, life does. Life goes by. My life just seems like that. School was a massive part of my life, and then as soon as I left school, it was like someone put the nitrous on, and then all of a sudden, I'm here, and I'm like, where's that middle bit gone?
Yeah,
It's crazy how quick time goes, and I think that's another thing as well is the fact that you think when you sit and think we've been in lockdown for nearly a year now. That's a year of our lives, and I think that realization as well has probably hit a lot of people and made a lot of people question where they are and stuff because you're like, wow, that only seems like yesterday that you know, well, because we were in America this time last year, and it's like, wow, that only seems like yesterday. So
yeah.
it is crazy.
I think the going back to the main topic we was looking at is about children understanding mortality and stuff like that. Being the age of 5, like it's just such a scary prospect, as you said. Your little one, she's 5 now, so within the next 2 years, according to statistics, she's going to start to understand what death is and stuff like that, which is a horrible, horrible thought to think about. Someone so innocent, sort of thing, having that sort of thought and might obviously they wouldn't fully. I know it says they get a general understanding, but they obviously won't fully understand, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But it's just such a someone so innocent, like hasn't lived in the world, sort of thing, or had to experience that sort of thing, having that sort of thing in her head. And don't get me wrong, it's one of those things that's natural, as we said before. It's just going to come to everyone.
yeah. We've all been through it. You got to think even silly things like movies like The Lion King, stuff like that. Like obviously the dad dies in it, so that I think they're exposed to it at an early age because you watch programs like that, and your kids watch programs like that, and you probably don't sit there and think, oh, his dad dies, or I better not let her see it. It's just it's difficult, isn't it? Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't sit there and talk to her about stuff like that, but it'll be like, yes, his dad's dead, he's never coming back or anything like that. But I think inadvertently they get the gist of what's going on, and I think they pick that up for themselves.
That's it. I think from my side of the thing, obviously my son's only 2, but in that side of things, my mum and dad's cat, Frankie, absolutely adores her, but she's getting old and she's not very well. And mum sort of said, "Well, you're gonna have to possibly explain in a couple of months, sort of thing, that Tia the cat's gone, sort of thing, and he's not going to be able to see her anymore. Because every time we FaceTime my mum or my dad, sort of thing, the first person he asks to see is the cat."
Yeah, yeah. But that, I mean,
That's that
that's
sort of
that's the thing. There, pets are probably a massive part of exposure for children as well, though, isn't it? Because
yeah.
it's like I say, that isn't as bad as if you've got a dog and like they've grown up with the dog, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Because you can say, oh no, the cat's out or whatever. You can make up a white lie, but then is that right or wrong? That'd be interesting to see what people think. Do you think that's right or wrong that you're shielding people from, or that you're shielding children from the truth in terms
Or,
of does
or
that
if
help
anyone's
them
got
on?
any idea, if anyone's got any ideas on how I can tell my little one when the time comes what I got to say, then let me know. Because I said to my wife the other week, I said I'm not looking forward to that conversation. Like, what am I going to say to it?
If
Like,
there's anyone listening that wants to tell his son, that'll be great if you can.
do it for me, yeah.
Yeah,
Record a voice note and I'll just play it to him.
yeah, that's it. Terence from Stevenage is just going
Yeah.
to talk to you, Frankie. But
But that's the other thing about death, isn't it? That everything, everything at some point dies.
hmm
Whether it's your television, your fridge, your cat, your neighbour's dog, the tree out the back of your house,
yep,
your nan, your granddad, everything at some point dies. And it's just a phrase that you associate with anything that stops working or stops living, really, I suppose.
yeah,
Everything that it's so in that sense, it's quite morbid, and I suppose in that sense, you're
everything has
no
a
escape.
lifespan. Yeah.
That's it.
Mm.
You never escape death, no matter what you're looking at.
Yeah, and like I say, I just it the whole point of this isn't to, like Jim said, to bum people out or sort of get people depressed and stuff, but it's more for people that are thinking the same way and aren't sure
Express it.
how to address it. It's not a nice thing to talk about, and don't get me wrong, I don't wake up and think, oh, I'm looking forward to a good conversation about death today, but it's more the fact that you know the mindset you go through, and I think everyone goes through it, is that time's ticking, and there's a film, and I can't remember what the film name is, and if anyone does know, then tell me because we watched it a little while ago. But it's where they have the green digital on their arm, and it's got a time on it, and basically currency is time. So you I think it's when you hit 24 or something like that, your clock starts to tick down and you've got a year left, and then you've got to earn, um, but through doing jobs and other things, you earn time. So and like there's this bloke and his well bloke, there's a lad and his mum, and like he'll go to work sort of thing, come back, and then he'll give her 2 hours of his life, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, but then it's very good depiction of wealth, as in money, and because obviously all the rich have like 100 years and stuff like that, or like unlimited and stuff, and how they store it all for themselves and stuff, which is quite comparable with money and currency in our current environment and stuff.
yeah,
But that's a really good watch, and I will find out what it is, and I'll get Jim to put it in the description. Or if you know what it is, put it in below. But yeah, like I say, it's just what do people think? It'd be quite interesting to see what people think, what happens after, if it is anything. I mean, I'm to see if people have the same points of view, or how people have dealt with their like their
their own more
yeah,
view on mortality and their own mortality sort of thing.
yeah, that's it.
I think the thing is, it's not good to keep it bottled up. And as I said, I already feel better in myself having spoken about it now, and hopefully me discussing it, you can listen to it and you can relate in some way, and it doesn't just sort of bum you out or depress you out a bit. You can listen to it and you can feel like you can relate slightly, and it can help you in a way, in a certain way. But no, it's just one of those things. But as Dan said, let us know in the comments below what you think, what your own points of view are, and obviously if you want to discuss, then let us know. Or if you've got any other ideas for any future videos, then let us know. Um, but otherwise, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the account and to the videos and stuff like that. Remember, we've got quite a bit of a catalogue building up now. I'm not sure how many episodes we got below, sort of thing, but
Yeah,
But listen to some of our other ones as well. Um, they're not as depressing as this one. They're a bit more.
they're all about death.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
But
So
no, it'd be quite good to if people just want to suggest stuff as well. Just that'd be pretty
yeah,
cool. It would be because obviously me and Jim sit here at the minute and what we've done before, and we kind of sit there and go, should we talk about this? And we're like, are people going to be interested in this? And what our interests are probably not the same as a lot of other people and stuff, but also things that we don't think about that we can learn about as well, which we both find quite interesting. So people sort of say, "Oh, look this up," or talk about this, and we can look it up, and then all of a sudden that gives us something to learn and
yeah.
gives us an interest to look at as well.
I think that's it. I think we're we're all only human, and we all make mistakes, sort of thing. So if we said anything that's obviously upset anyone, hopefully we haven't, because we've just been talking about our own experiences and points of view. Um, then obviously let us know. And but I think apart from that,
Yep.
I think that's it for this episode. So
Yep.
thanks for listening, and as I said, let us know what you think.